Hello and welcome to Sleepsmyth, your peaceful place to unwind, dream, and drift gently into sleep. Before we start our story tonight, let me help you settle in with a simple, calming breath like a gentle lullaby for your body and mind. So, find a cozy spot, maybe snuggle under your blanket, and softly close your eyes. Now, breathe in quietly through your nose for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath softly for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now, slowly exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds, letting all the tension melt away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do that again. Nice and easy. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One last time, just like a soft whisper. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feel your body getting lighter, your mind quiet, as if you're being tucked gently into a calm, warm bed. Thank you for sharing this moment with Sleepsmyth. Now, relax completely and let the story carry you into a peaceful, restful sleep. Let's begin.
Sands ripple under endless skies. Sunlight turns cliffs to gold and water to molten silver. Wind traces patterns across desert plains and canyon walls, carrying the memory of hands that shaped the world. Mountains rise like ancient guardians. Rivers carve paths through fertile lands. Here, cities are never merely built. They are awakened, called forth by courage, devotion, and the hands of those who shape dreams into stone. This is a land where East meets West, where continents converge, seas divide, and trade, faith, and culture mingle like currents in the wind. Here, empires rose and fell, carrying stories across deserts, rivers, and shores. Legends and myths crossed paths, shaping cities that became bridges between worlds, where destiny and devotion met beneath the same sun. Petra. Hidden within rose-colored cliffs, a city waits, carved from rock in a single night. Djinn of flame-shaped halls, temples, and tombs, guarding treasures of kings who fled from history itself. Every carved doorway hums with power, every canyon breathes the presence of spirits, and the desert holds its heart beneath stone forever. Istanbul. Where the waters of two worlds meet, a Greek prince followed a prophecy across the sea. Guided by the oracle, Biza sought the land opposite the blind, and found it where sunrise touched two shining seas. Upon that sacred shore, he raised altars to the gods and built a city between continents, where faith and destiny intertwined. Stone and water remember his vision, a city born of divine command and mortal devotion, watching over tides, gulls, and time itself. Luxor. Along the sacred Nile, sunlight touches sandstone temples, gilding courtyards and columns built to house gods and kings. Kings chosen by Amun-Ra walked among visions, transforming dreams. Deserts shift, rivers bend, cliffs glow with memory. In these lands, cities awaken in stone, in water, in light. They hold the stories of those who shaped them, of gods who watched, of kings who walked, and of legends that endure. Feel the warmth of sand, the pulse of stone, the flow of river. Let the Middle Eastern cities of legend speak, their walls, waters, and stones carrying secrets of devotion, destiny, and the hands that shaped them. Waiting to be remembered, waiting to be felt, waiting to live again. Petra, the jinn who built the Rose City. When a pharaoh fled the wrath of Moses, he called upon spirits of flame to carve his refuge from the desert rock, and their hands shaped a city that still breathes beneath the stone. Pharaoh's flight across burning sands. The sun hung low and merciless above the endless desert, a disk of molten fire spilling across dunes that moved like waves without water. Beneath it thundered the chariots of a pharaoh, once a ruler of men, now a fugitive of the divine. Behind him lay the lands of the Nile, where his empire had trembled beneath plague and prophecy, where the words of Moses had turned rivers to blood and hearts to fear. Now the last of his guards urged their horses forward, their faces caked with salt and dust, their eyes hollow from disbelief. They had fled the valley of life into the realm of silence, the Arabian wilderness, vast and unending. Every gust of wind erased their path, every dune shifted to hide their passing. The pharaoh's gold shimmered faintly within the wagons, a fading memory of power carried into exile. As day stretched into a cruel haze, the land itself seemed to turn against them. The air burned like glass, and mirages rose in the distance, lakes that vanished when reached, trees that melted into dust. Men fell one by one, their cries devoured by the sand. Yet the pharaoh pressed onward, his pride stronger than his fear. When night finally descended, it brought no peace, only the cold breath of a desert that seemed to watch. The stars glared sharp as blades above, and in their light the mountains began to appear, crimson walls rising like towers of flame, silent and vast. The pharaoh gazed upon them and felt something stir within the stones, as though the desert itself were alive and waiting. He dismounted slowly, his feet sinking into the cooling sand. His voice, cracked and dry, rose into the stillness, not in prayer to his gods, for they had failed him, but in command to whatever unseen power ruled this barren sea. "Hide me," he murmured, his words carried on the wind. "Hide me from the wrath that follows. Build for me a refuge no man may find." The wind shifted, a low tremor rippled beneath the earth, and from somewhere deep within the mountains came a sound like distant thunder, though no storm touched the sky. The pharaoh's men looked to one another, uncertain whether it was fear or hope that moved through the sand. The night grew heavier, thick with heat and silence. Above the red cliffs, the first stars began to blur, as though something unseen moved between them. The desert listened and waited. Cries beneath the crimson cliffs. The dawn rose in a fever of light, the horizon burning with colors no mortal eye had words for. Crimson cliffs stood before the pharaoh like a wall of sleeping giants, their faces streaked with gold and ochre, their silence heavy as judgment. His army had dwindled to a handful, men stumbling beside camels that groaned beneath the weight of treasure. Golden urns, carved idols, and sealed chests shimmered weakly beneath the sun, the last relics of an empire swallowed by sand. The pharaoh's eyes, once bright with command, now mirrored the emptiness around him. The desert spoke in strange voices that morning. The hiss of wind between the stones, the soft rattle of dry earth falling into unseen cracks. Some swore they heard crying in the air, others laughter, faint and sharp, carried from deep within the cliffs. Fear crept through the men like a sickness, and they clutched their amulets, whispering the names of gods who no longer answered. By midday, the heat grew merciless. The air trembled above the ground, bending the world into illusion. The cliffs seemed to waver, their faces changing shape, one moment smooth, the next carved with eyes and mouths that vanished when blinked at. The men fell to their knees, convinced the mountains themselves watched them. The pharaoh stood among them, his cloak torn and streaked with dust. His breath rasped through cracked lips as he stared at the red walls ahead. Something in that color, deep, alive, almost breathing, called to him. It was not the promise of gold or rest, but of power older than the Nile, older than kings and gods. He raised his staff and struck it upon the ground. "O spirits of this place," he cried, his voice breaking the silence, "I am Pharaoh, ruler of men and master of earth. Hear me, for I command what was promised to my fathers." The wind fell still. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then from deep within the cliffs came an answering sound, not of man nor beast, but something vast and burning. The air thickened with heat, the sand shifting as though alive. Horses reared and screamed, their eyes rolling white. The surviving soldiers dropped their weapons, trembling as unseen forces stirred around them. A red glow pulsed faintly within the rocks, just for a heartbeat, and was gone. The pharaoh lowered his staff slowly. His men dared not speak, but all felt the same dread, that the desert had listened, and something had awakened beneath its crimson skin. As night approached once more, the cliffs glimmered in dying light. Their color deepened, as if the sun itself bled into the stone. And when darkness claimed the valley, the cries of the men faded, one by one, swallowed by the silence of the mountains. Summoning of the Flame-born. Night returned over the crimson cliffs, heavy and soundless. Stars blazed above the desert like watchful eyes, and in their cold light the pharaoh knelt upon the sand. His guards lay scattered behind him, broken by thirst and fear, their gold spilling like tears from overturned chests. All that remained was a king and his plea to a realm older than mankind. The wind rose and fell with strange rhythm, circling him in spirals of dust. He pressed his palms to the earth, feeling its slow pulse beneath his skin, the heartbeat of a world that had outlived empires. His voice trembled, yet it carried far into the stillness. Spirits of fire and air, keepers of the deep places, hear the command of Pharaoh, son of the sun. The dunes shivered, grains of sand lifted and swirled in shapes half seen, as if the air itself took breath. From the clefts of the mountains came a low hum, deep and resonant, rolling like thunder trapped in stone. The Pharaoh did not move. He had called, and the desert had answered. Then the air ignited, not in flame but in color, waves of red and gold, shifting and alive, pouring from the cracks of the cliffs. Figures began to form within it, tall and luminous, their outlines flickering as if made from heat and breath. They bore no faces, only the shimmer of light in motion. The Pharaoh bowed his head, trembling not with fear but with triumph. "Build for me a refuge," he commanded, his words steady now, "a fortress that no man may enter, where no god may reach. Raise it before dawn, for I am hunted, and my kingdom is dust behind me." The spirits did not answer with words. Their light pulsed once, an ascent older than speech, and the desert roared to life. The cliffs glowed from within, the ground split in narrow veins of fire. Sparks flew like stars fallen to earth, tracing patterns through the night sky. The air filled with a sound between singing and storm, a vibration that shook every stone. The surviving men shielded their faces, crying out in terror as the mountains seemed to breathe. Sand lifted in sheets, swirling upward until it hung suspended, glittering like liquid gold. The Pharaoh watched as shapes emerged from the storm. Pillars, walls, arches, all rising from the living rock, smooth and flawless, carved by invisible hands. Before his eyes, a city began to take form. Doors without craftsmen, holes without tools, beauty born from the command of flame-born beings who owed allegiance to none but the word of power that had summoned them. When at last the storm stilled, silence returned, vast and reverent. In the newborn canyon stood facades gleaming with moonlight, their faces carved into patterns no human hand could trace. The Pharaoh fell to his knees, knowing his command had been obeyed. The jinn lingered within the air, unseen now but not gone. Their breath shimmered faintly across the stone, warm to the touch. And though the night was still, the desert seemed alive, waiting for what would come next. Night when stone awoke. The desert did not sleep that night. The air shimmered, restless and alive, as though the sands themselves drew breath. The moon hung low and swollen, its silver light spilling over the crimson cliffs where the jinn had gathered in silence. All around, the air rippled with heat though the night was cool, and the scent of scorched earth drifted on the wind. Then came the sound, deep and hollow, rising from the belly of the earth, a rhythm older than drums, like mountains grinding in their sleep. The cliffs began to tremble. Sand cascaded down their faces, revealing veins of rose and ochre that glowed from within. From those colors came movement, first a shimmer, then a carving stroke of unseen flame. In that hour, stone was no longer still. It twisted and softened as if remembering it had once been sand. The jinn passed their hands, or the idea of hands, across the cliffside, and each sweep left behind a column, an arch, a shrine that gleamed under the pale moonlight. Facades rose with impossible grace, patterns blooming like flowers in rock, their symmetry divine and unhurried. Far below, the pharaoh stood in awe, his torch flickering against the scale of the miracle before him. He watched faces emerge from the rock, gods with wide eyes and stern mouths, guardians of the treasure to come. He heard no tools, no hammers, no voices, only that low pulse of the mountain's heart, steady and patient, as if time itself had slowed to witness creation. The jinn moved in great currents of light, weaving through one another in silence. Where they passed, doorways appeared. Where they turned, stairways unfurled from the cliff like ribbons of red marble. The stone shone as if alive, warm under the moon, each grain of sand aligning to form something eternal. Hours passed without measure. The stars wheeled slowly above the valley, their reflection glimmering on the smooth new walls. In that light Petra, though it had no name yet, seemed not built but born. The cliffs curved protectively around it, like fingers closing over a secret. When dawn neared, the work slowed. The spirit's brilliance dimmed to a faint amber glow, and from the last of that fire came the greatest of all, a facade vast and perfect, its columns rising higher than any temple, its carvings sharp as breath. The pharaoh felt the air grow still as the jinn sealed their work with silence. He stepped forward, laying his hand upon the smooth red surface of the new treasury. It was warm, alive with a faint hum beneath his palm. He felt pride surge within him. This city would be his refuge, his final throne. Then, with the first light of dawn, the glow faded. The jinn sank back into the stone, their work complete. The cliffs cooled, and the hum became still. Only the faint scent of smoke and salt remained in the air, and the echo of something vast that had retreated just beyond sight. When the sun rose over the mountains, its light struck the facade and set it aflame with color, rose, gold, and red, shifting like living fire. The pharaoh fell to his knees, for he knew what no other would ever know. The city before him had been carved not by men, but by the breath of beings older than time. And from that moment Petra, the Rose City, belonged to the jinn as much as it did to him. Vault of Pharaoh's Gold. Dawn broke across the red cliffs, spilling light like molten bronze upon the newborn city. The pharaoh stood before the vast facade, his eyes still dazed from the miracle of its making. All around him, the air trembled faintly, as if the jinn still lingered, invisible but watching. He felt small beneath the carvings that crowned the treasury, their faces calm, eternal, and unreadable. The silence of Petra was not empty. It was filled with breath, with presence. Each step he took echoed softly against stone that had not known time before that night. The pharaoh crossed the threshold, and the air cooled around him. Inside, the halls were vast and bare, waiting. He raised a torch, and its light found veins of rose and amber glinting like fire trapped in rock. Behind him, his surviving guards dragged the first of many chests, iron-bound coffers heavy with the weight of his life's hoarded splendor. Gold gleamed in the flicker of the torchlight, spilling over the sand like sunlight made solid. The pharaoh's eyes shone with greed and fear both. He whispered a prayer to no god of man but to the spirits that had obeyed him. Keep this treasure safe. Hide it from all who walk beneath the sun. They worked until the day turned pale. Chest upon chest, urn upon urn, poured into hidden vaults beneath the treasury's floor. The jinn had left channels within the stone, deep and winding, like arteries through a living body. Into these, the pharaoh's men lowered their burdens, jewels, amulets, and vessels carved from gold so pure it burned the eye to behold. When the last of the treasure was set, the pharaoh descended alone into the lowest chamber. It was there, beneath the carved gaze of gods whose names even he did not know, that he placed his crown, a circlet of gold and lapis, upon a slab of stone. His hand lingered upon it for a moment, trembling. He knew his empire was lost beyond the dunes. Only this would remain, gleaming in the dark long after his name turned to dust. Then, with words he had learned from priests of forgotten shrines, he sealed the chamber. His voice echoed against the hollow rock, and the air turned thick, humming, alive. Flames flickered across the carvings, faint and green, as if unseen beings answered his call. The pharaoh felt his knees weaken, but he spoke the command one final time, binding his riches to the care of those who had built his refuge. When he rose again, the chamber was still. The hum had faded, the air gone cool and calm. Yet he felt it, the faint pulse beneath the stone, the weight of something immense and awake below. The jinn had taken his charge. He stepped back into the desert light, and the treasury glowed as if with pride. No tool marks, no trace of mortal craft betrayed the miracle, only the perfection of surface and line, the silent guardians carved in stone. His soldiers fell prostrate before it, their fear turned to worship. That night, as the pharaoh rested within the valley, he dreamt of a serpent of fire winding through the mountain, curling around his treasure, its eyes 2 stars burning beneath the earth. When he awoke, his lips were dry, and his heart was heavy, for he knew the bargain had been struck, and that what the jinn protect, they also possess. And so the vault was sealed, unseen, unreachable, and Petra became a monument to a king's fear, and to the flame-born who answered his call. Binding of the Guardian Jinn. When the final chest was hidden beneath the earth, the pharaoh stood before the treasury and called once more to the unseen realm. His voice carried into the hot, still air, echoing softly against the cliffs, a summons not of man but of command. He spoke the sacred words given to him by those who knew the tongues of fire, and the desert answered with a long sigh of wind through the canyons. From the heart of the rock, light began to bloom. Faint at first, then fierce, spilling in molten ribbons across the ground. The cliffs shuddered, and the sand rose in whirling spirals, each grain a spark in the darkening air. Then, as the pharaoh watched, a shape emerged from the light, vast, terrible, beautiful. A figure of flame given form, taller than the treasury's gates, its body made of smoke and amber and molten stone. The air grew heavy. The men who stood behind the pharaoh fell to their knees, covering their faces, for the sight burned the mind as much as the eyes. Only the king remained standing, his hand lifted in command, though his heart trembled. "Great One," he said, voice low but steady, "you who guard the gates between world and wind, I call upon you to keep what lies here sealed for eternity. None shall touch this gold, none shall disturb the vault where my crown lies. Let your gaze fall upon every trespasser, and let your wrath be their end." The spirit regarded him, though it had no eyes, no mouth, only a shifting brilliance where its face should be. It spoke not in words but in thunder, a sound that rolled through the valley like a mountain breaking open. The pharaoh's robes whipped about him, his crown tilted in the storm's fury, yet he did not step back. Then the light condensed, shrinking and coiling inward until it hovered before the treasury's entrance. The pharaoh raised the seal, a talisman of black stone carved with symbols that caught the firelight, and held it, and he placed it upon the gate. At his touch, the ground trembled once more. The spirit's form wavered, its glow dimming, its fire sinking into the carved walls. Slowly, its outline fused with the stone, the columns, the lintel, the faces above the doorway, until nothing remained but the faint shimmer of heat upon the red surface. The jinn was gone, and yet it was not. For when the pharaoh reached forward, he felt warmth where there should have been cold. He saw, deep within the stone, two faint points of light, like eyes watching from beneath the surface. They pulsed once, then stilled. "It is done," he whispered, his voice hoarse with awe and dread. "The guardian is bound." Behind him, his soldiers remained silent, afraid even to breathe. None dared look directly at the facade, where the carvings now seemed to shift in the corner of sight. Faces turned a fraction, gazes alive with unseen awareness. As night fell, the treasury glowed faintly in the dark, its rose hue deepened to blood, its surface breathing warmth though the air was cold. The pharaoh could not sleep. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the fire-born shape within the stone, its presence vast and patient, waiting for eternity to pass. By dawn, he knew he would never again look upon the city without feeling the weight of that gaze. The guardian would not die, would not fade, for it was no longer of air and flame alone, but of rock and earth, fused with the city it protected. And so Petra became more than a refuge. It became a tomb for a spirit, and a throne for silence. Curse of the Rose Walls. Centuries drifted like sand through the desert wind. Empires rose and fell beyond the red cliffs, and the name of the pharaoh who built Petra was lost to the dust of time. Yet the city remained, silent, unbroken, carved in perfection that defied the years. Its stone did not crumble, its colors did not fade, and when the sun touched its walls, they blazed with the same living fire that had birthed them. But the people who passed through the valley spoke of unease. Caravan men would lower their voices when the path curved near the treasury, their eyes averted from its carved faces. Some said that at dusk, the air around it grew warm though the shadows lengthened, and that the columns seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with the rhythm of a hidden heart. One evening, a merchant from the north, bold and greedy, laughed at such tales. He had heard of the pharaoh's lost treasure, buried beneath the rose walls, guarded by myths meant to frighten fools. So he came with tools and torches, his men eager for the promise of gold. They reached the treasury by moonlight, their footsteps echoing faintly in the canyon. When they struck the stone with their picks, the air grew still, not silent, but listening. The rock gave no mark, no chip, only a dull ring that trembled through the earth like a warning. One of the men pressed his ear to the wall and drew back at once, his face pale, for he swore he had heard something move within, slow and vast, like a breath drawn through stone. Still, the merchant urged them on. They worked through the night, sweat darkening the sand, their torches burning low. Then, as dawn neared, a sudden heat rose from the ground, dry, fierce, impossible. The men stumbled back as a gust tore through the canyon, scattering their tools into the dark. The merchant's torch flared, though no wind touched it. It burned white, then blue, before bursting into ash between his fingers. The rock before them shimmered as if alive, the carved faces shifting, their eyes brightening with faint inner light. When the sun rose, the merchant was gone. His companions fled into the dunes, raving that the walls had come alive, that the statues had turned their gaze upon him and drawn him into the stone itself. They swore they heard his final cry, cut short, swallowed by the cliff, before silence fell again. After that, no one dared approach the treasury by night. Those who passed through Petra at dawn claimed to see new carvings upon its face, faint figures half-formed, as though the stone remembered each intruder it had devoured. Word spread through the tribes of the desert. The place was cursed, they said, a city not made by men but by jinn, and still kept by them. Those who sought gold found only disappearance. Those who showed reverence were spared. So the Bedouin began to leave offerings at the mouth of the sick, dates, incense, and bowls of milk for the unseen guardians. And when the wind howled through the canyon, they did not call it mere wind. They said it was the jinn moving through their city, pacing among the rose walls, guarding the treasure they had been bound to protect. So Petra remained untouched, not by fear alone, but by reverence, a place where time halted, and where the breath of an ancient covenant still lingered in the warm stone, waiting for the next soul bold enough, or foolish enough, to break the silence again. Breath beneath eternal stone. The sun still rises over Petra as it did in the age of pharaohs, spilling its gold across the cliffs, setting the facades ablaze in living color. From a distance it seems empty, a city abandoned to silence. Yet those who stand among its walls feel something deeper than quiet, an awareness, soft but vast, as if the very stone remembers what it once was. At dawn, the canyons glow like burning embers, and the treasury stands at their heart, its rose surface alive with shifting hues. Travelers who come upon it for the first time often stop in awe, unable to move, their breath caught as though the city itself were watching them. Some claim to feel warmth beneath their palms when they touch the carved pillars, a faint thrum, steady and low, like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. The Bedouins say that this is the jinn's breath, the spirit bound within the treasury, still guarding the pharaoh's hidden vault. They tell of nights when the desert grows unnaturally still, and a faint glow seeps from the carvings, of footsteps that leave no mark, of murmurs that come not from wind but from within the cliffs themselves. Yet those who honor the place, who walk softly and speak with respect, are left in peace. The nomads know to greet the city as one greets an elder, with humility, with awe. They light small fires at the canyon's mouth, leave bowls of milk and sweet smoke of myrrh, offerings for the unseen keepers. Then they rest in the hush of the valley, listening to the slow breathing of stone around them. Time has done what armies and empires could not. It has softened the names, blurred the faces, erased the king who fled across the sands. Yet Petra endures, carved from living rock, guarded by flame-born watchers who do not age, who do not sleep, but wait in stillness for the promise they were bound to keep. When the moon climbs high, Her light spills into the treasury's hollow halls, and those who dare to linger say they see movement upon the walls, a shimmer of heat, the trace of something vast turning beneath the surface. And if one listens long enough, they swear they hear the faintest sigh, not sorrow, not rage, but the sound of eternal watching. In the deep of night, the desert grows warm again, though no fire burns. The cliffs glow faintly, and the sands stir with invisible feet. The bound guardian, they say, rises once more to pace its ancient realm, unseen, tireless, faithful to a king who has long turned to dust. By dawn, all is still again. The city sleeps beneath its rose light, unchanged, unbroken. Only the wind moves through the sick, carrying the scent of salt and stone. And so Petra remains, not ruin, not relic, but remembrance, a city carved from obedience and flame, from fear and faith intertwined, a monument not to death, but to endurance. For though the pharaoh's name is forgotten, and his treasure forever sealed, the jinns still breathe beneath the eternal stone, keeping their promise until the last grain of sand falls silent. Istanbul, the land opposite the blind. Long before empires rose and fell, a seer's riddle guided a wanderer to a shore of light, and from that vision a city awakened. Star-born voyager. Evening fell softly over Megara, the sky draped in quiet hues of amber and rose. A gentle wind stirred the courtyard, brushing over stone and tile with a calm insistence. And in the palace, a young prince named Byzes sat by an open window, his eyes following the slow, steady dance of birds across the fading light. Byzes had always felt a subtle pull, a tug towards something beyond the familiar walls of marble and garden. Nights in the palace brought no comfort, only a persistent stirring in his heart. He walked through corridors lined with carvings of ancestors, their faces frozen in silent tales. Yet their presence offered no answers. The world outside seemed wider, brighter, and full of paths not yet taken. At dusk he would climb the tallest tower, toes brushing the cool stone, wind tangling in his hair, and the sea would unfold below, a stretch of shimmering silver stretching beyond sight. Each wave carried the suggestion of distant lands, of places where cities rose from light, where streets wound like threads of moonlight across hills and peninsulas. In those moments, Byzes felt the pulse of something vast, something calling. His dreams were filled with visions that shimmered between night and waking, landscapes that glowed before any stone was laid, waters folding around promontories of light. And in those visions, a city awaited him, a city that would rise not from force, but from insight, from courage, from the will to see what others could not. During the day, he lingered over maps, tracing imagined paths with delicate fingers. The The court noticed his faraway gaze, the slight trembling as if the maps themselves might shift beneath his touch. Priests muttered that Apollo had chosen him for some greater purpose. Seers spoke of his heart moving in rhythm with unseen currents. Byzes listened quietly, feeling the tug of destiny in every pulse, every breath, every glance at the horizon. One evening, as the sky deepened to molten orange and indigo, he stood once more at the tower, looking toward the distant line where sea met sky, and he knew he could not stay. The world beyond awaited, wide, uncharted, alive, and he would follow its call, guided by riddles, currents, and signs he had yet to understand. Byzes thought of Delphi, of the oracle, where fire and smoke spoke in riddles, where words could bend futures. He packed only what he needed, a staff, maps, and the rhythm of the sea carried in his heart. And with the first light of dawn he would leave, stepping from palace stone into the tide of destiny, becoming a wanderer, a seeker, a voyager meant to find the land opposite the blind, a city that would rise from vision, courage, and light. Sunlit Oracle. Dawn spilled softly across the hills as Byzes' small entourage departed Megara. The air smelled of wet earth and blossoming olives. The road unrolled before them like a ribbon of pale gold, winding through hills that caught the first sun in soft amber hues. Each step felt both certain and uncertain, as if the land itself wanted him to notice every leaf, every stone, every fluttering bird. Byzes' mind was filled with the image of Delphi, the sacred mountain where smoke curled upward from hidden flames, where voices of the gods could be heard in riddles that danced through the air like fireflies. He imagined the temple rising from the cliffs, white marble glowing beneath the sun. Columns tall and elegant, crowned with carvings of sunbursts and laurel wreaths. And in that imagined place he would find guidance. He would find the answer to the riddle that had haunted his dreams. The journey was long. Valleys rolled past, rivers glinted like liquid silver. At times, the silence between travelers was so deep it seemed to press against his ears, as though the world itself waited with him. He thought of the sea behind him, its rhythm still alive in his memory, of the palace he had left, and the corridors of stone that now felt like another lifetime. Each mile brought him closer to a threshold, a place where prophecy might meet reality. At last, Delphi appeared, perched like a jewel upon the rugged mountain. Clouds brushed its edges in soft strokes of white. The air carried a faint tang of incense and wild herbs. Byzes felt the weight of anticipation settle over him like a gentle mantle. He climbed the stone steps slowly, each footfall measured, each breath carrying the faint echo of countless seekers who had come before. Inside the temple, sunlight poured through high windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like tiny stars suspended in golden beams. The air vibrated with quiet power, a resonance that seemed to move in rhythm with his heartbeat. Priests in flowing robes guided him toward the inner chamber. There, seated among coiling smoke and flickering flame, was the oracle, her presence serene yet charged, a figure both human and something else. Byzes knelt, offering silence as much as words. The oracle's gaze held him steady and knowing, and then she spoke, her voice neither loud nor soft but certain. Opposite the land of the blind lies what you seek. The words fell into his mind like a bell into still water, rippling, expanding, shimmering with possibilities he could not yet grasp. He pondered their meaning, the cities across the waters, the shores hidden in plain sight, and the destiny that called to him from beyond his current life. When he emerged from the temple, sunlight poured upon him like a blessing. The mountain air was crisp, carrying hints of pine and distant seas. Byzes felt the riddle settle into his chest, warming him, urging him forward. This was no longer mere curiosity. This was a call he could not ignore, a path laid by fate, by vision, by the unseen hand of something greater than himself. He set his gaze eastward toward the Aegean, toward islands gleaming in morning light, toward seas that would carry him to lands yet unknown. And though the oracle's words remained a puzzle, he trusted the pulse within him, the quiet certainty that told him this journey would lead to the city that awaited, the city opposite the blind. Gilded Sea Passage. The morning air was cool and brimming with salt as Byzes' small fleet slipped from the harbor. Oars cut the water in smooth arcs, sending tiny silver ripples dancing across the sea's surface. Sunlight spread over the waves in threads of molten gold, each one trembling as if alive, guiding him toward the unknown. He felt the steady pulse of the ocean beneath him, a rhythm older than cities, older than stone. A rhythm that whispered of distant lands waiting for eyes willing to see. Islands passed like scattered jewels, their edges softened by the haze of morning. Olive groves and craggy cliffs gleamed under the sun's first blush. Gulls traced arcs through the sky, diving and rising in delicate patterns, each movement a punctuation in the vast, unfolding story of the voyage. Byzes watched them with a quiet wonder, imagining that the birds themselves were messengers, carrying knowledge of the lands he had yet to reach. The wind filled the sails, tugging gently, insistently, pressing the journey forward. The scent of salt and pine mingled, rising from both the sea and the distant hills. Each inhalation reminded him that he had left the palace far behind, that the stone corridors and marble halls were now a memory. The voyage was both simple and immense. Every wave a challenge, every horizon a promise, every sunlit crest a new possibility. At night, when the sky darkened and stars scattered across the heavens like shards of crystal, Byzes leaned against the railing, letting the cool night wind stir his hair. The waters shimmered with faint phosphorescence, glowing softly beneath the hulls, a constellation mirrored in the waves. The moon traced a path over the horizon, and for a moment, the sea seemed to fold in upon itself, revealing glimpses of distant cities, hidden harbors, hills crowned with towers he had yet to imagine. Conversations among the crew were minimal, occasional laughter, the splash of oars, the murmur of water against wood. Silence dominated the spaces in between, as if the world understood that this journey was sacred. Byzes often closed his eyes, imagining the land ahead, the city he had glimpsed in dreams, rising between two seas, waiting for him to claim it. He felt the pulse of destiny, strong and insistent, guiding each stroke of the oars, each tilt of the sail. Days stretched into nights, and the sea remained a living presence. Light shifting with the sun, wind changing with the invisible currents. He imagined the islands as sentinels, holding watch over the passage, offering signs and omens for those able to perceive them. Sometimes the waves glinted like molten silver, sometimes like molten copper. Every shimmer carried a message he could feel though he could not name it. Byzes often thought of Delphi and the oracle's words, opposite the land of the blind. He tried to interpret them as the waters parted before him, and gradually a vision formed in his mind. Across the glimmering strait, a place untouched, a peninsula of hills and light, where the city would rise. Somewhere across these gilded waters, a land that awaited him, waiting for his courage, his insight, his vision. The voyage stretched endlessly, yet every stroke brought him closer to the shore that shimmered in his dreams. A shore that would become home to stone, altars, streets, and stories. A city born not of happenstance, but of foresight, of patience, of the pulse of a restless prince following the sunlit currents toward destiny. Chalcedon's blind gaze. Morning light stretched across the eastern shore as Byz's fleet drew near Chalcedon. The city rose from the hills in tidy lines of stone, sun reflecting off its walls like scattered sparks. Chimneys exhaled thin trails of smoke, markets hummed with the rhythm of merchants and animals, and yet to Byz's, there was a peculiar stillness beneath the bustle, a sense that the people saw but did not truly perceive. He stepped onto the shore, the sand cool beneath his sandals, each grain slipping softly between his toes. The scent of salt and fresh bread mingled in the air. The city streets were orderly, houses neat, and yet something essential was missing. Its gaze was inward, focused on coin, on routine, on the comfort of what was known. The beauty and potential of the land across the water seemed invisible to them, though it lay in full view. Byz's wandered through the marketplace. The chatter of merchants, the clatter of wheels, the calls of buyers and sellers, all felt distant. He imagined the view from the hills behind the city, stretching westward, and there, beyond Chalcedon's narrow vision, a peninsula glimmered in the sunlight, its hills and waters bathed in a light so alive it seemed to pulse with possibility. His chest tightened with recognition. This was the meaning of the oracle's words. From the heights of Chalcedon's walls, he traced the line of the strait, the currents swirling between the continents, the waters gleaming like molten silver under the rising sun. Across the narrow divide, the hills beckoned, forested slopes, small streams winding to the sea, light breaking in patterns that seemed orchestrated for eyes that could truly see. Byz's felt the thrill of revelation stir his blood. The city before him, though thriving in routine, had failed to recognize the miracle that lay across the water. Evening descended softly over Chalcedon. Lanterns lit along the streets, casting long, warm glows that mingled with the orange sky. Byz's climbed one of the hills that overlooked both the city and the waters beyond. Each step echoed in quiet determination. He imagined ships moving across the strait, carrying the beginnings of a new settlement, stones laid upon stones, altars rising, the scent of offerings drifting across the waves. This vision was fragile yet undeniable, a city shaped by foresight, insight, and courage. He returned to his small encampment, watching Chalcedon go about its evening routines, unaware of what lay ahead of them. Byz's mind traced paths across the waters, imagining how the city could be built upon the European shore, streets curving with the hills, docks embracing the waves, altars and temples catching sunlight and wind. He traced the forms in his mind as if sketching them in air, feeling each detail as if it already existed. Night fell, soft and cool. Byz's lay awake beneath a canopy of stars. The vision burned in his mind like a quiet flame. Across the waters, a peninsula of promise awaited, the city of his dreams, the city that would rise where others had failed to see. and in that stillness, he understood the purpose that had drawn him from Pallas, from Delphi, from everything he had known. The land opposite the blind was not only a prophecy fulfilled, but a calling, a pulse of destiny that demanded courage, foresight, and faith. Byzes closed his eyes, feeling the waves below him murmur their rhythm. The night carried the scent of possibility, of stone and tide, of future streets and altars yet to be laid. Across the strait the city awaited, and he would not falter, for the eyes that could see had arrived, and the city of vision would rise. Peninsula of Dawn. The first light of morning kissed the European shore as Byzes stepped from his small vessel onto sand still cool from the night. Mist clung to the water, curling around rocks and reeds in delicate spirals. Every breath he drew carried the scent of salt, pine, and something indefinable, as if the land itself exhaled anticipation. The waves lapped gently, murmuring in rhythm with his heartbeat, and for the first time, the vision he had held in his mind began to take shape in reality. He climbed the gentle hills, each step stirring the soft earth beneath his sandals. Sunlight spilled across the peninsula in a warm wash of gold, glinting off dew-laden grass and the occasional shimmer of a hidden stream. The trees whispered in the breeze, their leaves catching light like scattered emeralds. Byzes' eyes drank it all in. The rise and fall of the land, the curve of the shoreline, the way the two seas embraced the peninsula like a mother's arms. At the summit he paused. The full expanse revealed itself. The waters on either side glinted in pale sapphire and silver. The forests traced delicate patterns across the hills. Streams glimmered like veins of liquid light, and the air vibrated with possibility. His chest lifted with wonder. This was the city the oracle had promised, a place where vision could be translated into stone and streets, where insight could shape walls and altars and markets. Byzes traced the hills with his gaze, imagining the layout of the streets, how houses would climb the slopes, following the curves of the land, how docks would embrace the tide, welcoming ships from distant seas. Temples would rise atop the highest points, catching both sun and wind, their altars gleaming with offerings to gods and ancestors alike. Every detail, though unseen by others, seemed alive to him, etched into the land by fate itself. He knelt on the soil, pressing his hands against the earth. It was soft yet firm, yielding but strong. The land welcomed him, as if it recognized him as its chosen steward. For a long moment he allowed himself to simply breathe, to drink in the light and the sound of waves rolling over distant stones, to feel the pulse of the peninsula beneath him, a rhythm older than memory, older than cities. Evening approached, spreading amber and rose across the horizon. Byzes remained on the hill, watching the waters sway in twin rhythms. The Bosphorus to the right, a narrow channel of silver and shadow. The Sea of Marmara to the left, calm yet glimmering, hinting at the currents that would carry life and trade for centuries to come. The peninsula lay between them, a jewel waiting for the hands that would shape it, and Byzes knew he was the one. As twilight deepened, he imagined the first stones being laid, altars and temples rising, streets curving with the hills, markets alive with voices, ships gliding along docks bathed in the golden glow of sunset. The vision was so vivid it seemed the city already breathed, already existed in another realm, waiting for mortal hands to bring it forth. That night, beneath a sky spun with stars, Byzes lay upon the hillside, listening to the gentle lapping of waves, feeling the pulse of the peninsula beneath him, and knowing with an unshakable certainty that this land, kissed by dawn, cradled by twin seas, alive with promise, was the foundation of the city he would build, a city that would endure, a city of vision. Altars of stone and tide. Byzas stood at the crest of the hill, feeling the weight of possibility settle around him. Below, the peninsula stretched like a canvas, waiting for the touch of human hands guided by foresight. The twin seas shimmered at either side, tides shifting with the rhythm of centuries yet to come. He knelt, pressing his palms into the soft earth, tasting its promise, letting it whisper to him in a language older than speech. The first stones were chosen carefully, each one lifted and set with reverence. Smooth river rocks, strong quarried slabs, rounded by time and water, now poised to bear the weight of walls, streets, and altars. Byzas' followers moved with quiet precision, the effort of their muscles and the scrape of stone on stone echoing softly across the morning air. There was a rhythm to it, a heartbeat in the work, the birth of a city woven into the pulse of the land. He built the first altar atop a hill where sunlight poured without obstruction. Incense and offerings were laid with trembling hands, libations poured into the soil, each drop blending with the sea breeze. The ritual called to Poseidon for safe passage, Apollo for vision, Athena for wisdom. The gods, it seemed, bent closer, curious and watchful, feeling the deliberate devotion of the mortal who dared shape destiny. Every stone set, every plank raised, every altar consecrated carried meaning beyond utility. They were symbols of foresight, courage, and patience. Byzas walked among the laborers, imagining streets and plazas, marketplaces and temples, how the city would grow in harmony with the hills and tides. He felt the pulse of life emerging, as if the peninsula itself breathed in approval. By midday, the sun gleamed off half-laid walls, scattering light across the waves. Gulls wheeled overhead, their cries piercing the steady rhythm of hammers and the soft murmur of the sea. Each echo seemed less like sound and more like affirmation, a silent chorus heralding the city's beginning. The air smelled of stone dust, pine, salt, and incense, mingling into a scent that would linger for generations, a perfume of birth and intent. As evening approached, Byzas climbed once more to survey the land. Shadows of construction stretched across hills, marking the nascent streets and foundations. The waters mirrored the last amber rays of sun, bending light like molten silver, carrying visions of a city yet unfinished, yet alive in imagination. He traced the contours of the peninsula with his eyes, seeing temples catching the wind, docks welcoming ships, plazas alive with movement and song. Night fell gently. Stars appeared like tiny lanterns hung across the heavens. Byzas sat upon a rock, feeling the first stones of the city beneath him, tasting the salt in the breeze, listening to the tide's quiet rhythm. It was a city born of vision, of insight, of courage. A city whose soul would endure long after the stones hardened and the first fires burned low. And in that moment, he knew the land opposite the blind was no longer simply prophecy. It was alive, real, and entrusted to his hands. Byzas rose, eyes fixed on the horizon. Every corner of the peninsula hummed with potential, every curve of the hills spoke of streets to come. And in the darkness, beneath stars and wind and tide, he whispered a silent promise, that this city would not only stand but see, see beyond its shores, beyond time, beyond the eyes of those who had failed to perceive. The first chapter of Byzantium had begun, and destiny awaited its unfolding. Tempest of Fate. The city of stone and tide had barely begun to rise when the wind shifted. Clouds gathered across the horizon, dark and restless, stretching over the waters like a warning. Byzas watched from the hilltop as the first gusts ruffled the surface of the twin seas. A warning or a test, he could not tell. Yet the pulse of the peninsula beneath him seemed to tremble in response. Storms came with a sudden, relentless force. Waves crashed against the shore in sheets of silver and foam. The wind tore at unfinished walls and scattered loose stones along the nascent streets. Trees bent as if bowing to some invisible authority. Byzas' followers scrambled to secure what they could, their hands trembling, their breaths short and sharp. Each moment felt suspended, as if the very air held its own heartbeat. Byzas climbed to the highest point, feeling rain sting his skin cold and fresh. He closed his eyes, letting the rhythm of the storm sink into him. Lightning cracked across the dark sky, illuminating the rough outline of the land he had chosen. The peninsula, fierce and alive, demanded courage and ingenuity. And in the tempest, he realized that vision alone was not enough. It required persistence, guidance, and the will to bend adversity without breaking. He shouted instructions to his followers, directing them to reinforce walls, to anchor planks and stones, to secure the altars on the hills. Rain soaked their hair and clothes, mud clinging to hands and feet, yet determination kept them moving. Byzas' mind traced the layout of streets, imagining the city rising resilient and strong despite nature's challenge. Every effort felt like a dialogue with the land itself, a conversation between foresight and fate. Thunder rolled across the twin seas, echoing in valleys and gullies. Byzas' eyes scanned the horizon. Glimpses of calm broke through the fury of clouds. Shafts of light struck the waters and hills, gilding the foam with molten gold. He understood then that the storm was not just a threat. It was a lesson, a shaping force to test both the city and the vision behind it. By nightfall, the storm had spent its rage, leaving the air crisp, scented with wet pine, salt, and earth. Stones once loose had been anchored, altars remained standing, walls partially rebuilt. The city had survived its first trial. Byzas walked along the nascent streets, feeling mud and water between his fingers, tasting the salt in the air. Each detail of destruction and repair told him that Byzantium's strength would not lie only in stone, but in the vigilance, insight, and courage of those who built it. In the quiet after the tempest, the peninsula seemed renewed. The waters reflected a pale moon, the hills glimmered with dew, and the wind hummed through the trees as if celebrating endurance. Byzas stood on the highest rise, watching the first lights of a small camp flicker. The city he imagined had faced adversity and persisted, a sign that destiny itself had chosen well. He breathed deeply, letting the rhythm of tide and wind settle within him. The vision of streets, docks, and temples remained sharper and more certain than ever, for the city that could withstand storms and trials, that could endure nature's fiercest tests, would be the city that truly saw, a city ready to welcome centuries of fate and fortune alike. City of Twin Seas. Byzas stood on the highest hill once more, gazing over the city that had grown from vision and stone. The twin seas stretched in other directions, shimmering in sunlight and shadow, carrying ships that hummed with life, trade, and distant voices. The peninsula pulsed with energy, every street and altar a testament to foresight, courage, and devotion. Byzantium had taken root, rising where others had failed to see. Time flowed like the waters below, slow yet unstoppable. Seasons turned, winds shifted, waves lapped at shores that had witnessed beginnings and farewells alike. Markets thrived, ships came and went, and people filled the streets with life and song. Yet the city remained faithful to its foundation, shaped by hills and tides, shaped by the hands and hearts that had dared to believe in a vision beyond the ordinary. Byzas walked along the docks, watching vessels sway gently with the currents. The scent of salt and pine mingled with smoke from distant chimneys. He remembered the journey across the gilded seas, the oracle's riddle, and Chalcedon's blind gaze. Each memory carried the weight of lessons learned, patience, resilience, and the subtle understanding that a city must see beyond what lies immediately before it. From the city's highest temples, light poured across rooftops and plazas. Altars caught the glow of the sun, casting a golden path along cobblestone streets. By night, lanterns illuminated squares and alleys, reflecting in the rippling waters of the Bosphorus and the Sea of Marmara. The city breathed, alive in rhythm with tides, wind, and the countless footsteps of those who had called it home. Empires would rise and fall, stones would age, walls would crumble, yet the peninsula endured. Byzantium became Constantinople, a jewel of trade, culture, and power. Later, it would be called Istanbul, a city straddling continents, embracing the seas, a living testament to vision, courage, and resilience. Every wave lapping its shores, every breeze that stirred its trees carried the echoes of its founding, the careful hands of a prince who had seen what others could not. Byzas' figure faded into history, yet the city he had begun remained. The streets he had envisioned flowed naturally with the hills. The docks welcomed new life. Altars and temples continued to reach skyward, and the twin seas, constant and patient, bore witness to all that was built, endured, and transformed. Night fell over the peninsula once more. Stars stretched across the heavens, reflected faintly in waters that cradled the city. The city of twin seas slept, yet its spirit remained awake, ever watchful, ever seeing. A city born opposite the blind, living proof that vision, courage, and perseverance could shape not only stone and tide, but destiny itself. And so the legend of Istanbul endures, a city rising from foresight and faith, standing where prophecy had promised, shimmering between waters, cradled by hills, a beacon for those who choose to see, to believe, and to build. Luxor, the pharaoh's divine city. where Amun-Ra chose the Nile's fertile banks, an immortal king raised stones, sun, and sanctuaries to bridge earth with the divine. River's silver thread. Beneath the vast sky, the Nile flowed like a ribbon of silver, winding through deserts and plains with divine purpose. Its waters shimmered under Amun-Ra's gaze, reflecting the first rays of the sun and carrying life to all along its banks. The land beside the river had been chosen by the gods. A pharaoh would one day rise upon these banks, called to shape a city where earth and divine presence intertwined. Each bend of the Nile, each glint of sunlight on water, was a sign of that blessing. Priests and seers gathered at the river's edge, studying the flight of birds, the sway of reeds, and the ripple of the current. They understood that the Nile carried instruction and prophecy alike, guiding the hand of the mortal king who would build the city. The soil promised abundance, even where desert winds had left barren stretches. The river carved channels and basins, nurturing patches of greenery where crops could root and animals could graze. Morning sunlight gilded the water in gold, and the river seemed to acknowledge its role as lifeblood. It was a thread connecting heaven and earth, gods and mortals, past and future. Every reflection held the memory of eternity. Along the banks, life moved with quiet purpose. Fishermen pushed boats across calm water, dragging nets glinting with silver fish. Birds wheeled overhead, tracing arcs that echoed celestial order. The Nile was not merely water, it was guidance, blessing, and sustenance. A sacred lifeline shaping the future of a king, a city, and a people devoted to divine favor. Even in stillness, the river spoke of beginnings. Stone yet to be lifted, courtyards yet to be laid, temples yet to touch the sun. Every ripple mirrored the sky, holding promise of eternity. The chosen land awakened under divine light, ready to receive human hands that would craft it into a vessel of devotion. The river's song was patient, flowing without haste, teaching that endurance, labor, and reverence were inseparable. Time flowed as surely as the Nile. Seasons turned, reeds swayed, fish shimmered beneath the surface, and sunlight danced upon water in golden arcs. The river held the promise of eternity, of devotion, of kings who would walk its shores with reverence. Here, where earth met water and sun kissed stone, a city would rise to honor gods, house kings, and endure across millennia. Dream beneath the dunes. As night fell over the sands, the pharaoh slept beneath a sky strewn with countless stars. The desert cooled, and the moon cast silver light across the dunes. In slumber, the god Amun-Ra visited him with visions of a city bathed in eternal sunlight, where mortal hands and divine will would meet. The river glimmered in his dream, winding through fertile lands, guiding the layout of streets, courtyards, and temples yet to be built. The waters carried the reflection of the heavens, showing where stone would rise and where sacred spaces would welcome devotion. Priests had long spoken of dreams as the language of the divine. In this vision, the pharaoh saw courtyards opening toward the east, where the sun would greet worshippers each morning. Columns aligned with celestial paths, offering light and shadow that would mark sacred hours. Temples glimmered like gold, and statues of gods gazed down with eternal patience. Every structure was a vessel for the divine presence, a bridge between earth and sky, human labor and eternal decree. The dream was both instruction and blessing, a map for the pharaoh's hand guided by the gods. The desert winds seemed to carry whispers of instruction through the dreamscape. Sands shifted as if forming terraces, outlining the future city's shape. Even distant mountains and scattered palms appeared to nod in acknowledgement of the destiny set before the mortal king. In the vision, the pharaoh walked along the riverbank, feeling the warmth of the sun before it rose, sensing the rhythm of water, and understanding the pulse of life that would sustain the city. The Nile was not merely a river but a living guide, reflecting both divine favor and the path that human hands must follow. Every temple courtyard, every paved avenue, every altar in the dream was suffused with the god's intent. The pharaoh awoke with the memory of stone kissed by sunlight, of sanctuaries designed for harmony between mortal action and celestial order. The dream imparted purpose without words. It was a vision of destiny, showing that the city would rise not merely from labor, but from devotion. Each stone placed, each column lifted, would honor the divine rhythm revealed in this night beneath the dunes. And as dawn approached, the dream faded, leaving the pharaoh with certainty and awe. The land chosen by Amun-Ra awaited his hand, and the pulse of the Nile promised that devotion and labor would flow together to shape a city of sun, stone, and eternal order. Foundations of Eternity. With the first light of dawn, the pharaoh surveyed the chosen land. The Nile flowed beside it, silver and steadfast, a gift from Amun-Ra. Artisans and priests gathered along its banks, preparing stone and timber, their hands guided by both skill and divine instruction. Each block of sandstone was selected with care, every timber measured to align with the sun and stars. The layout of streets, courtyards, and sanctuaries followed patterns traced in the pharaoh's dream. Every detail reflected cosmic order, echoing the rhythm of time that flowed from the heavens to earth. Laborers moved with purpose, their oars gliding silently over the Nile as boats carried materials from distant quarries. Priests chanted hymns that filled the air with sacred resonance, infusing each stone with devotion. The river itself seemed to join in, supporting the weight of the city as it rose from its banks. Columns began to rise, each carved with hieroglyphs that traced the favor of gods and the lineage of kings. Courtyards opened toward the east, welcoming the first rays of sunlight. Every corner, every platform, every altar reflected the careful hand of mortals guided by divine will. The pharaoh walked among the workers, observing the harmony of human effort and celestial design. His presence was a reminder that each act of labor was also an act of worship. In every swing of hammer and chisel, the pulse of eternity was embedded into stone. Time passed like the flow of the river, steady and unyielding. Foundations expanded across the fertile land, forming the skeleton of a city that would endure through ages. Artisans carved reliefs of gods bestowing life and kings receiving divine favor, marking the city with both story and purpose. Even as structures rose, the Nile nourished the people and the land, ensuring that the city's growth was sustained in both body and spirit. Fields and gardens were laid alongside temples, blending labor with devotion, water with stone, mortal hands with divine oversight. By nightfall, the city's skeleton was visible against the horizon. Stone and timber, alignment and ritual, labor and faith had combined to create the first tangible steps toward eternity. The foundations were not merely physical, they were an enduring testament to the bond between the pharaoh, his people, and Amun-Ra. And as the stars rose overhead, the pharaoh understood that this work would outlast generations. Every stone placed was an echo of divine instruction, every courtyard a vessel of eternal order. Foundations had been laid, and the heartbeat of Luxor began beneath sun, sand, and river. Courts of golden horizon. The first rays of dawn spilled across the rising city. Courtyards opened like vessels to the light, and columns reached skyward, their tops kissed by sunlight. Priests moved among them, arranging altars, sprinkling incense, and guiding the faithful with quiet reverence. Each sanctuary was carefully placed, aligned to celestial rhythms. Doors faced the east, capturing the first warmth of Amun-Ra's gaze. Shadows shifted with the sun, tracing hidden inscriptions at precise hours. Every courtyard, every open space, became a living map of divine order. Artisans carved stone with precision, hieroglyphs telling of gods bestowing life and kings honoring sacred duty. Each relief reflected the harmony between heaven and earth. Courtyards echoed with the rhythm of footsteps, hymns, and offerings, a chorus of devotion filling the air. Gardens were planted within the sanctuaries, their greenery a reflection of the Nile's fertility. Pools shimmered under sunlight, mirrors for the heavens. Water channels guided the river's blessing into every courtyard, feeding both plants and the spirit of those who walked among them. Priests taught the rituals of the city, ensuring that every ceremony aligned with the movement of sun and stars. The pharaoh walked through these sacred spaces, observing the harmony of mortal action with divine order. Every step reaffirmed the bond between ruler and god, between city and heaven. Courtyards became arenas for offerings, festivals, and the quiet prayers of the faithful. Light and stone intertwined, forming spaces that honored the eternal while sustaining mortal life. Birds nested in the open colonnades, their calls joining the music of the city. As afternoon stretched across the horizon, sunlight glinted off columns and altars, illuminating reliefs with brilliance. The city seemed alive with devotion, each courtyard breathing with sacred purpose. Even the wind carried the scent of incense and flowering gardens, a constant reminder of Amun-Ra's blessing. By night, the golden horizon faded, but the sanctuaries held the warmth of the day. Courtyards slept under stars aligned with those who had guided Luxor from its earliest stones. The rhythm of sun and shadow, of water and stone, had been woven into every corner. Thus, Luxor's courts rose, not merely as spaces of stone, but as vessels of light, devotion, and celestial harmony. The city's soul was carved into each column, each garden, each courtyard, forming a bridge between mortal hands and the divine gaze of Amun-Ra. Pulse of the Nile. The Nile flowed steadily through Luxor, carrying life in its waters and blessings from Amun-Ra. Boats glided along the currents, their oars slicing the water with rhythm and purpose. Fishermen cast nets, merchants transported goods, and the river's pulse guided every movement along its banks. Fields stretched along the fertile shores, crops ripening under the sun. Farmers worked in harmony with the river's rise and fall, knowing that each harvest was touched by divine favor. Children ran along the banks, their laughter mingling with the gurgle of the water. Even the livestock drank in quiet obedience, sensing the sacred presence that nourished the land. Along the city streets, artisans carried materials to workshops, transforming stone and timber into vessels, altars, and ceremonial objects. Each act of labor moved in rhythm with the river, blending mortal effort with celestial blessing. Traders called out their wares, voices carrying across the water, while priests observed the alignment of stars and currents, interpreting signs of fortune and protection. Pools reflected sunlight across courtyards, illuminating sculptures and reliefs in soft gold. The Nile fed fountains within gardens, keeping greenery lush and vibrant. The people of Luxor felt the river's heartbeat in their daily toil, aware that every offering, every prayer, was mirrored in the flow of water and life. Festivals arose along the banks, where boats laden with flowers, grain, and incense drifted in ceremonial procession. Music and hymns intertwined with the river's gentle murmur, blending the human and divine. Even the city's animals moved in harmony, their paths crossing with careful precision along streets and canals. By midday, sunlight warmed rooftops and courtyards, while the Nile shimmered like silver under the heavens. Waterbirds dipped and rose in arcs, tracing the river's pulse above the gardens and terraces. Every current carried messages of blessing, every ripple a reminder of Amun-Ra's gift. As evening approached, the city slowed, yet the river's pulse remained constant. Lights flickered in homes and workshops, reflecting in the water with calm brilliance. The Nile's steady flow ensured that Luxor lived, breathed, and thrived, a city intertwined with divine rhythm and mortal devotion. Thus, life in Luxor moved as one with the river. Every task, every breath, every journey along the Nile was part of a sacred cycle. The river's pulse nourished not just crops and people, but the soul of the city itself, bridging mortal hands with divine grace. King's Hidden Path. Within the quiet sanctuaries of Luxor, the pharaoh moved with reverence, each step measured, each gesture purposeful. Chosen by Amun-Ra, he was the living bridge between the mortal world and divine presence. The city's heartbeat slowed in these halls, giving space for reflection, devotion, and sacred communion. Priests guided the king through rituals hidden from the gaze of ordinary citizens. In chambers adorned with carvings of gods and kings, incense rose in spirals, carrying prayers to the heavens. Every action the pharaoh took was dictated by cosmic order, aligning mortal life with the celestial rhythm. In the hush of dawn, the king knelt before the sanctum. His hands traced the carvings of the sun god, feeling the pulse of eternity beneath his fingers. Words of devotion left his lips, soft but certain, invoking Amun-Ra's favor for the city, its people, and the Nile that sustained them. Throughout the day, the pharaoh moved among hidden corridors, observing sacred symbols, consulting priestly advisors, and performing rites to renew the divine covenant. Each act reinforced the bond between Luxor and the gods. Even the smallest gestures, pouring water over statues, arranging offerings, touching the hieroglyphs, echoed through the city with unseen weight. From secret terraces, the king could see the Nile glinting like silver, the river flowing in harmony with rituals and prayers. The motion of the water mirrored the cycle of kingship and devotion, the city's prosperity tied to the pharaoh's careful stewardship. At midday, the sun aligned with the sanctuary's openings, illuminating the carvings in golden light. The pharaoh traced these paths, marking hours and festivals, ensuring the celestial order was reflected in mortal life. Each ray of sunlight became a conduit of divine will, strengthening Luxor's harmony with the heavens. Evening brought quiet contemplation. The pharaoh walked along covered corridors, listening to the soft movement of priests and attendants. Each sound, each measured step, reinforced the sacredness of his role. Here, in the hidden paths of the city, mortal ambition and divine purpose intertwined seamlessly. Thus, Luxor's king maintained the invisible balance of life and devotion. Every ritual, every secret pathway, every sacred act ensured that the city remained aligned with Amun-Ra's will. The pharaoh's hidden path was not merely a place of solitude, but the spine of the city's spiritual life, sustaining Luxor through eternity. When the river turned red, the Nile, normally serene and nurturing, began to rise with a force that unsettled the city of Luxor. Waters churned against banks, carrying silt and debris in a surge that reflected the will of gods. Citizens paused in labor, eyes lifted to the sky, seeking signs in the tumultuous currents. Priests interpreted the rising waters as omens, tracing patterns in the waves and in the sudden redness of the river. The pharaoh convened advisors, yet his decisions were guided by devotion, not fear. Every action taken sought to honor Amun-Ra, appease the divine, and maintain the balance between mortal hands and the river's flow. Villagers moved swiftly along embankments, strengthening levees, guiding boats, and protecting crops. The Nile's wrath was not merely a test of strength, but a reflection of fragile devotion. Mortals learned that even a city chosen by the gods must endure trials, and resilience was as sacred as piety. Amid the surge, the pharaoh visited the riverbanks, offering prayers and libations. His presence was a reminder that leadership demanded more than authority. It required courage, humility, and steadfast alignment with divine will. The river's anger became a mirror of the city's devotion, testing the harmony between Luxor's inhabitants and the eternal rhythm of the Nile. Floods reshaped the river's path, revealing hidden channels and fertile soil. Priests guided the people in sacred rituals to honor the waters, and artisans recorded the events on temple walls. Every stone carved, every hymn sung, and every offering made became a covenant, a pledge that Luxor would endure despite the river's fury. Night fell, and the Nile glowed under moonlight tinged with crimson reflections. The pharaoh meditated upon the river's lesson. Even divine favor required diligence, reverence, and unity. Luxor's streets were quiet, yet the city's spirit remained unbroken, its pulse echoing the ebb and flow of water and faith. By dawn, waters receded, leaving behind renewed soil and strengthened embankments. The city emerged with renewed vigor, its people aware of their dependence on both mortal labor and divine grace. The river's test was a story etched into Luxor's memory, a reminder that devotion must be constant and hearts attuned to the god's will. Thus, the Nile's red turn became both a warning and a blessing. Luxor learned that prosperity was inseparable from vigilance, that survival required obedience to cosmic order, and that faith must flow as steadily as the river itself. The city endured, its heartbeat strengthened, ready to rise again under the gaze of Amun-Ra. Sun-kissed eternity. The sun rose over Luxor, casting golden light across sandstone streets, temples, and sanctuaries. Each column gleamed as though kissed by Amun-Ra himself, and the river reflected the city's radiance, carrying sunlight across fertile banks. Citizens moved with purpose, tending gardens, offering tribute, and walking paths laid by generations of devotion. Boats glided along the Nile, laden with stone, grain, and sacred incense, their passage guided by the steady current and the blessing of the god. The city's pulse was visible in every motion, a harmony between human effort and divine favor. The pharaoh walked among courtyards, observing the alignment of temples, the flow of water through channels, and the balance of open spaces and sanctuaries. Each aspect of the city reflected eternal order, from the tallest pylons to the smallest carved inscriptions. Devotion was evident not only in grand gestures, but in the careful tending of stone, sun, and river. Light shifted across walls and columns throughout the day, revealing sacred inscriptions, hieroglyphs, and patterns aligned with celestial cycles. Every hour marked a divine rhythm, every ray of sunlight a reminder that Luxor existed as a bridge between mortal hands and godly intent. The city breathed with purpose, a vessel for eternity. Children played along riverbanks, farmers harvested fields, and priests chanted from terraces and sanctuaries. Yet all actions were connected, a silent concordance between mortal life and divine blessing. Even the Nile, calm and abundant, mirrored the city's harmony, carrying water, life, and stories downstream as though participating in the sacred order. By afternoon, sunlight gilded temple roofs, pools, and courtyards. The pharaoh paused upon a terrace, watching the interplay of river and stone. He understood that Luxor was now complete not just in structure but in spirit, a living testament to the devotion of generations and the favor of Amun-Ra. The city stood eternal, its heartbeat measured by sun, stone, and river. Luxor embodied a union of human skill and divine will, a sanctuary of life and faith, and a place where the sacred and the mortal intertwined seamlessly. Its streets, canals, and sanctuaries reflected the light of gods and the labor of kings, artisans, and priests alike. As dusk fell, sunlight lingered upon Luxor's tallest pylons, casting reflections upon the Nile and illuminating temples one last time before night. The city's essence remained, timeless and enduring. Luxor had become more than stone and river. It was a vessel of divine purpose, a bridge between heaven and earth, and a testament to the eternal harmony of mortals walking in step with gods.